Hello and welcome to this edition of World at War. My name is Mohammed Saleh. Russia unleashed its Oreshnik intermediate-range ballistic missile only for the third time in this war. A drone crashed into an apartment complex in Romania, a nation that is not at war but is part of the NATO military alliance. Ukraine has upped its drone warfare, striking Russian oil refining facilities deep inside the heart of Russia at a rate that has crippled Russia's oil production capacity by nearly 30%. Despite the war having gone on for over 4 long years, there is no indication that the war will peter out anytime soon. But Russia is no longer dictating the tempo of this war as it did just a few months ago. Ukrainian drone capabilities have advanced, and this has given Kyiv teeth to bite at the very heart of Russia's financial muscles. So where is the Russia-Ukraine war now headed? Our next report tells you more.
On the 24th of May, Russia pounded Kyiv and surrounding areas with hundreds of drones and missiles in one of the heaviest bombardments of the city since the start of the 4-year war. In fact, it even fired an Oreshnik hypersonic missile near the capital. Russia's hours-long overnight barrage killed 2 people in Kyiv and 2 more in the surrounding areas. More than 100 others suffered injuries. Authorities said dozens of residential buildings and several schools had been damaged, many in the center of Kyiv. It is only the 3rd time that Russia has used the Oreshnik missile against Ukraine since the war began. The previous 2 strikes had hit major cities, but Zelensky said this Oreshnik strike targeted Bila Tserkva, a city of 200,000 people that lies about 40 miles from the outskirts of Kyiv. The Oreshnik's warhead appears to have split into 36 submunitions. In total, Russia is reported to have launched over 90 missiles and 600 drones. The attack devastated Lukyanivka, a district north of Kyiv's city center which is home to a missile plant. Many of the nearby apartment blocks and commercial buildings have been damaged repeatedly by Russian strikes throughout the war. A shopping center and a nearby market were also gutted by flames. Volodymyr Zelensky insists more attacks will follow.
We have intelligence reports indicating that Russia is preparing a new major attack. Please pay attention to air raid warnings and stay safe. Our emergency services are prepared. Air Force and other air defenses will be on duty 24/7, as always.
On the 29th of May, Romania accused a Russian drone of crashing into an apartment block during an attack on neighboring Ukraine. Romania's defense ministry said a woman and a child suffered minor injuries in Galati near the border. After radars tracked a Russian drone entering into Romanian airspace, it is the first time that a densely populated area in a NATO country has been hit, causing injuries during Russia's war on Ukraine. The incident is likely to increase tensions on the alliance's eastern flank as member states worry about the war spilling over their borders. The incident seemed certain to stoke worries that Russia could be testing NATO's resolve. But rubbishing this speculation, Vladimir Putin insisted that Russia has no plans on expanding this war to Europe.
This is nonsense. This is supposedly being done in connection with Russia's aggressive plans against Western European countries. This is a lie. It's a crude, brazen lie. And as Goebbels, German Nazi Party propagandist Joseph Goebbels, once said, the more unbelievable the lie, the more likely it will be believed. These are precisely the standards Western politicians and media are implementing in their daily practice. Russia has never had any aggressive intentions against European countries, and the tragedy unfolding in Ukraine is their doing.
The Romanian response was swift. The Russian consul general in the city of Constanta was declared persona non grata and expelled.
We had a Russian drone, Garan 2, leave Russia. We know the trajectory, we know where it passed through Ukraine, we know where it entered Romania, part of a swarm of 43 Russian drones, of which only 1 reached Romanian territory. Regarding Romania's capabilities in relation to this type of incident, I want to inform you that, within SAFE, we have an important component dedicated to anti-aircraft capabilities to respond to this type of event. The contracts are being signed these days, and we will have the delivery in a year or 2.
NATO has vowed to defend every inch of its territory. But the American President Donald Trump has sown uncertainty about whether he will abide by the NATO Charter's obligation to defend allies that are attacked, saying the United States would only do so for those nations that meet spending targets, and suggesting that he could withdraw from the alliance. Wars often have a momentum of their own, and the Ukraine war is rising up the escalatory ladder on a trajectory that few can realistically predict or control.
Trump concluded his Situation Room meeting without making a decision. The fragile ceasefire is already beginning to come off its seams as the United States has carried out attacks on certain Iranian positions in what the American side has claimed are defensive strikes. But to carry out military strikes in the middle of a ceasefire at a time when negotiators are trying to cobble together a deal is the definition of a negotiation that is not going well. Now, Trump's demands have been described as maximalistic by the Iranians, who have all along insisted that Iran will not give up its nuclear enrichment program, its ballistic missile arsenal, or its newly won control of the Strait of Hormuz. If Trump fails to secure any or all three of these conditions, then he simply cannot claim victory in this war. On the other hand, the Iranians have vowed that if full-scale hostilities begin again, then the Iranian response will be unlike anything the United States and its allies in the region have witnessed so far in this war. So which way are the negotiations and the Iran war headed? Our next report tells you more.
Trump's first priority is to get the Strait of Hormuz reopened. But the irony is, the Strait of Hormuz was open before Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu started this war, and the Iranian supreme leader has a clear message where he has said, "What is certain in this regard is that the clock cannot be turned back, and the nations and lands of the region will no longer be a shield for American bases. Moreover, America will no longer have a safe place in the region for mischief and the establishment of military bases, and day by day it will drift further from its former position. The shaky Zionist regime, too, will move closer to the end of its ominous existence. By the grace of God, and in accordance with the decisive and forward-looking statement that the great martyred leader, may his soul be sanctified, made 10 years ago, they will not see 25 years past that date, God willing." US officials this week claimed that a tentative agreement had been reached in talks between Tehran and Washington, and this tentative deal was awaiting President Donald Trump's approval. But even as the negotiators reported progress, the military confrontation has shown little sign of relenting. Breaking the ceasefire, the United States launched several attacks, including on the Iranian port of Bandar Abbas, while skirmishes have continued in the Strait of Hormuz, where the Americans have been testing the Iranian projection of power. Iran responded to the attack on Bandar Abbas by carrying out a strike on an American military base in the region. Iran further claimed that it had shot down another of the American MQ-9 Reaper drone and repelled a sortie by America's F-35 stealth fighter jet. Iranian officials have used the negotiations to project confidence that they retain significant military options should diplomacy fail. The Iranian Revolutionary Guards have warned that any renewed conflict would spread far beyond the region, threatening crushing blows and utter ruin in places America and its allies cannot even imagine. However, Donald Trump insists that the United States holds all the cards in this war and that Iran should restore free passage through the Strait of Hormuz as it existed before the Americans began the war.
Would you accept a short-term deal that allows Iran and Oman to control the strait? And would they have to open it immediately, or would you be open to that happening over a period of time?
No, the strait's going to be open to everybody.
And who would control it?
It's international waters. Nobody's going to control it. We're going to watch over it. We'll watch over it, but nobody's going to control it. That's part of the negotiation that we have. They would like to control it. Nobody's going to control it. It's international waters, and Oman will behave just like everybody else, so we'll have to blow them up. They understand that. They'll be fine.
But the Iranian military that seems to be calling the shots in the negotiations is in no mood to relent. The Iranian military leaders look unlikely that they would give up control of the strait, that they believe they have managed to rest in this war.
Why should Iran be the one to manage the Strait of Hormuz? Because we don't want a military invasion in the Persian Gulf. We have stopped the invasion. We have stopped the insecurity. The Strait of Hormuz is closed for prevention of insecurity and military invasion. To stop creating another war in the Persian Gulf, whether against Iran or against other countries, it is closed. Yes, the Strait of Hormuz is closed in that sense, but for free trade.
The negotiations are on the razor's edge. Neither side is willing to climb down from the high horse, and the coming days will indicate which direction will West Asia head to.
A suicide bomber rammed his explosive-laden vehicle into a train at the Chaman Fatak station in Quetta, Pakistan, killing at least 30 people and injuring more than 70 others. The train was primarily a shuttle service that was transporting Pakistan's military personnel and their family members who were returning to their homes for the Eid al-Azha festivities. 3 coaches and the engine of the shuttle train were derailed, while 2 were overturned. The Baloch Liberation Army claimed responsibility for the attack. Now, the armed Baloch separatist group, which apart from calling for an independent state, also strongly objects to large-scale Chinese investments in the region. So why has Pakistan failed in dealing with the Baloch insurgency? And what threat does it pose to the Pakistani state? Our next report explores.
On the 24th of May, Pakistan was rocked by a deadly train bombing. A suicide bomber drove his explosive-laden car into a moving military shuttle train that was carrying Pakistani security personnel and their families. The attack happened amidst Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif's 4-day visit to China, and the day before his meeting in Beijing with China's President Xi Jinping, marking 75 years of diplomatic ties between the two nations. Several houses and buildings adjacent to the railway line were severely damaged in the blast, which caused train carriages to overturn and catch fire. Bystanders who witnessed the attack near the station described the ferocity of the blast.
I was right there near the tracks. I can't even believe how we survived. It was right there, just a few steps away, right in front of us. Only a few steps. The blast was so huge. Thank God we made it out alive.
A state of emergency was declared at public hospitals in Quetta, with doctors and other medical staff ordered to remain on duty. Those on board the train had been on their way to Quetta's main railway station from a nearby military encampment. From there, they were due to travel to Peshawar and then on to their hometowns for Eid al-Adha. Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif condemned the attack in a post on social media. He said, "I strongly condemn the heinous bomb explosion near Chaman Fatak, Quetta, which has resulted in the tragic loss of innocent lives and left many others injured. Such cowardly acts of terrorism cannot weaken the resolve of the people of Pakistan. We remain steadfast in our determination to eliminate terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. I express my heartfelt condolences to the families of the victims and pray for the swift recovery of the injured. The entire nation stands in solidarity with the people of Balochistan in this hour of grief." This is not the first time the BLA has targeted trains in Balochistan. The BLA was responsible for Pakistan's largest terror attack of 2025 when the Jafar Express, a train travelling from Quetta to Peshawar, was hijacked in March last year. The BLA claimed responsibility and reported that dozens of military personnel had been killed. Hundreds of people were taken hostage from the train, which was carrying 400 passengers. In the past 2 years, the Jafar Express has repeatedly come under attack from the insurgent group. The BLA, which has a suicide squad called the Majid Brigade, says it is fighting for the independence of Balochistan. The BLA is the largest of several ethnic separatist groups that have been fighting the federal government for decades. Balochistan's mountainous border region serves as a safe haven and training ground for both Baloch separatist fighters and Islamist armed groups. The BLA often targets infrastructure and security forces in Balochistan. It has also struck other areas, most notably the southern port city of Karachi. The BLA accuses Pakistan's federal government of exploiting the rich mineral resources of its largest province without the local population benefiting. Balochistan covers nearly 44% of the country's land, sharing volatile borders with Iran and Afghanistan and covering part of the Arabian Sea coastline. It is home to about 5% of the country's more than 240 million people. Another major issue is that geological assessments suggest Balochistan contains 12 of the 17 rare earth minerals on the periodic table. The failure of Pakistan lies in addressing the economic aspirations and the desire for autonomy of the Baloch people. Till Pakistan fails to engage on this issue politically, Baloch insurgents have vowed to test the Pakistani military with more such attacks.
Both in the Gaza Strip and in Lebanon, there is officially a ceasefire. But the ceasefire exists only in name, because on the ground, Israel has continued its wave after wave of attacks, resulting in a steady bloodletting that is no longer making global headlines. But this week, Benjamin Netanyahu has made his plan abundantly clear. Israel, he says, wants to control 70% of Gaza Strip's land, pushing the Palestinians into even smaller, uninhabitable land where resources such as water and electricity are scarce. In Lebanon, Israel has made over 20% of the country inaccessible to the Lebanese people, as it claims it is targeting Hezbollah. The Lebanese people have been asked to move north of the Zahrani River, and our next report tells you more.
We are currently squeezing Hamas. We now control 60% of the territory of the Strip. You know this. We were at 50, we moved to 60. My directive is to move to, let's go step by step. First of all, 70. Let's start with that. We're pressing them from all sides. We'll deal with the remnants.
Benjamin Netanyahu has made his intentions clear. He says Israel is squeezing Hamas. But in the process, all Palestinians in the Gaza Strip are now being forced into an ever smaller stretch of land, as Israel's creeping yellow line has expanded further. As these maps show, the besieged Palestinians are now being forced to live in just 30% of the territory that was earlier theirs. Israel calls this security. The Palestinians call this naked land grab.
Where is the board of peace that they spoke about? Where are the ones that said, we will come, we will stand, and we will do? There's no truth to all this talk, and the truce they speak of, there is no. On the contrary, from what I see, there is no truce or anything. Every day there is escalation, day by day. The number of martyrs is in the tens, the wounded in the tens.
More than 90% of all buildings in the Gaza Strip have been destroyed. And yet, the Israeli offensive continues targeting the tent encampments with the claim that it is hunting down Hamas leaders.
At 10, we all woke up to the sounds of rockets. There was no warning for a strike or anything. Suddenly we hear the sound of rockets and strikes and the screams of children and the screams of women, and we in the Gaza Strip do not feel a truce or ceasefire for days, and God knows even what's next will be like this. However, I call on the whole world, those who claim peace. Where are the human rights?
In Lebanon too, Israel has continued its relentless offensive. More than 1 million Lebanese people have been driven out of their homes, as some of the oldest inhabited cities such as Sidon and Tyre have been repeatedly bombed. Israel has also carried bombings near historical and cultural sites, such as near this 12th century Crusader-era Beaufort Castle in southern Lebanon. Hala Farah, whose family was forced to flee from southern Lebanon, is watching the images of what has become of her neighborhood, as the Israeli military has systematically devastated her town of Yaron in pursuit of Hezbollah.
Israel is trying to remove all the essential elements of life necessary for return, from homes to streets, destroying the streets, water, electricity, everything someone would need to return. They are bulldozing it without mercy. The war took everything from us. It took our memories, our childhood, our beautiful conversations, the cups of coffee we used to invite people over for, the peace and quiet of Yarun.
Tens of thousands of displaced Lebanese people are now living in tent encampments. There is fear that Israel is repeating in Lebanon what it has already done to the Gaza Strip. The Palestinians in the Gaza Strip gathered to offer prayers, marking yet another cheerless Eid. The bruising war that has dragged on for more than 2.5 years by Israel has shown no signs of coming to an end.
For the first time ever, North Korea has tested ballistic missiles that reportedly were guided by artificial intelligence. The tests involved multiple weapon systems, including a nuclear-capable cruise missile that Kim Jong-un has vowed to deploy near the border with South Korea as he looks to expand his military capabilities. According to the Korean Central News Agency, ballistic missiles with a special mission warhead designed for battlefield nuclear use were also tested along with a 240mm rocket artillery that was equipped with ultra-precision navigation systems. Besides this, North Korea has again reiterated that its status as a nuclear power will never again be part of any negotiation. But what has sparked this ferocious testing of ballistic missiles by Pyongyang? Our next report tells you more.
North Korea has tested a mix of tactical ballistic missiles, artillery rockets, and AI-guided precision cruise missiles. According to Kim Jong-un, the objective is to modernize the artillery forces so that no one can match North Korea's strength. Having advanced the development of a series of long-range ballistic missiles and nuclear weapons capabilities. The tests in particular were designed to exhibit the combat readiness of North Korean cruise missiles that will be deployed at artillery units near the border with South Korea. Equipped with precision navigation and AI-guided control that can strike targets at a distance of 100 km. North Korea, in recent months, has been steadily upgrading its tactical and conventional arsenal. Central Seoul, the densely populated capital of South Korea, sits within a 100 km range of the demilitarized zone border with the north. Pyongyang has called Seoul its primary foe and has disavowed any policy for an eventual unification. The recently tested terminal guidance system of the cruise missile appears to be the first time that North Korea has publicly referred to incorporating AI in its missiles, a technology that maps and locks in the target using real-time data. Earlier this year, Kim Jong-un had warned he could completely destroy South Korea, adding that the complete collapse of the country cannot be ruled out. Last month, Kim Jong-un was in attendance as Pyongyang launched 2 strategic cruise missiles and 3 anti-ship missiles from its new 5,000-ton class destroyer, the Chu Hyon. On the other side of the DMZ, a joint live-fire exercise showcasing the South Korean military's major combat assets was held.
The joint live-fire exercise is not simply a drill or a one-off event. It is an occasion to reaffirm our firm resolve to defend the peace and security of the Republic of Korea on our own against any threat, and to promise the people a strong security posture and solid readiness.
This is the very first joint live-fire exercise under the Lee Jae-myung administration with major Korean military assets, taking part including drones and a helicopter on display. Such a drill, involving the Army's major assets, was first launched in 1977 and this year marks its 13th edition. The exercise was not held during the Moon Jae-in administration, but resumed in 2023 under the government of Yoon Suk-yeol on the largest scale ever. The positions have hardened on the Korean peninsula, and neither capital on either side of the DMZ at this moment looks like it is in the mood to relent.
And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of World at War. If you want to reach out to me with any comments, feedback or suggestions, please feel free to do so on the ID that you're seeing on your screens. I'm your host, Mohammed Saleh, and I'll see you again next week.